Hello, everyone, and welcome to Up Supercast, the only podcast that would rather talk about Pokemon than an actual direct. I'm your host, Muzzy, and joining me today is Brandon.
I want to say that's not true, but maybe it is.
Ills.
You know what? I'm done with 2020. This is bullshit. Fucking first direct of the year and we get this garbage.
And Will.
I'm being added into the game as well.
So, Will, as you can tell, is not hosting today. He's,
Yeah. If I suddenly run out of my voice halfway through this, you'll know why.
Yeah. Funny how I end up hosting. I feel like this happens.
It happens. I noticed it. You host during directs a lot.
The direct time. It's a calling, you know. It's
Well,
wow.
not that I want you to host again, but yeah, I hope you host again soon.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should just cancel directs from now on.
You know, okay, this is fair.
It's a sacrifice we are willing to make.
Yeah.
I
get it. I understand. Well, let's get on with it, shall we? Because we got a Pokemon Direct. First Direct of the year.
Yeah!
When it got announced, I felt the collective groan across the internet.
Yeah. I will say the reaction when it was announced was not pleasant. Right? I think a lot of people were expecting a Nintendo Direct and to see Direct, and it's like monkey's paw, right? Like
they're still gonna get it. Relax.
Yeah. I mean, yes. If you're a reasonable human being, you realize, this doesn't actually like have an effect on the release schedule or anything.
Fuck being reasonable.
Imagine being a reasonable.
Yeah, imagine.
Fuck that.
Yeah, we're not about that. Okay.
Well, here's the good news. Well, this may not hold the case because patterns are made to not exist anymore. But Pokemon Directs have not altered other Directs. They're willing to put them a week before or a week after.
They tend to be right around, actually, General Directs. Yeah. Like, within a week or two is the general... But, as we're about to find out, this Pokemon Direct was all about breaking patterns. You know that?
It's true.
This is brand new, uncharted territory for Pokemon. So, when this was announced, I want to preface a little bit. I think a lot of people were like, what the heck is a Pokemon Direct gonna have? Right?
It's true.
Yes. It's been 2 months.
Sword and Shield came out 2 months ago. It is too early to talk about the next mainline game. Are we going to talk about spin-offs? Is that what this is going to be? Is this going to be about Pokemon Home? Right?
Yeah. Because, we know there are spin-offs in the works.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
There are always spin-offs in the works.
There's always Pokemon spin-offs.
Yeah, but we already knew about a couple of them.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah, in fact, the one we knew about, Detective Pikachu 2, did not show up here. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe we have more Pokemon announcements coming throughout the year.
Look forward to it, Ills.
Why doesn't it just end?
But
I mean, it's the biggest money-making franchise in the world.
They just came out with it.
Well,
give me a fucking breath.
Yeah, so... however, I do think there was clearly a reason this was so soon after the launch of Sword and Shield, right? And that's because this was all about Sword and Shield. Specifically, we are getting an expansion pass. Well, there was one more thing. So there's 2 things in this direct, I should say. I want to talk about the big thing first, though. The real reason, let's be honest, why this direct happened.
Oh, there is a group of fans that are, how dare you? How dare you?
You know, okay. Well,
which really, really blew my mind. Because my reaction to it, and then to see other people's, I was like, wait, people feel this way? So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to it, but...
well, we'll get to that. Because I do want to... spoilers, Mystery Dungeon got announced as well, right? That was the other announcement. But I want to talk about Game Freak Sword and Shield first, because I also want to give Mystery Dungeon the time it deserves, though, you know? I don't want to be like, alright, I don't want to, like, just talk about Mystery Dungeon, and then we just want to hurry up and move on so we can talk about the meaty stuff. You know what I'm saying?
No, because I don't care about mystery.
No, because I don't care about Pokemon.
Nice, but okay, well, all right, let's get into it. So, Pokemon Sword and Shield got an expansion pass. So you can buy this expansion pass right now. In fact, for $29.99, and there will be 2 packs in this DLC. Right?
Yes.
The first one
you get both. You get both for the $30.
For $30.
I've already seen people confused about this.
I think I to be fair, I think the reason the confusion, the place the confusion come from is like, oh well, there's a Pokemon Sword expansion pass and a Pokemon Shield expansion pass. But this is it's the same thing. You do have to buy it for each individual game if you have both games, I guess.
Yeah.
But you know, they're largely the same. much like Pokemon, the only real difference is version exclusives. And this time, actually, the legendaries are not exclusive. So you get the same legendaries regardless if it's Sword or Shield. You get the main legendaries. You get all the same content, right? It's just there's some version exclusives that are different character that you interact with, right?
Yeah. Yes. Well, they did say that there might be a
rival.
couple of different places. I don't know if that will entail.
So there
but...
are some differences here and there, but for the most part, it seems like I don't think you have to worry about buying both versions, quite frankly.
No.
Unless you're just a crazy person like myself.
Within the Direct, within the Direct, they were like, you can buy, there's different things, and we want you to trade. They made sure to say, hey, losers, trade. Like, because people were going around being like, well, you have to pay 60 plus another $180 for the full stuff of this game, and it's like, that's only if you're a crazy person,
Yeah. And if you have a fucking single friend, which these people who are complaining probably don't.
Wow. We're going at it.
Fuck these people. And if if you have one single friend with the other game, you are good. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Also, there's this thing called the internet where you can go online and ask people, and there's plenty of ways,
Okay, well, let's not delve into complain about people too much. Let's talk about the content of this. Okay?
Oh, fuck them.
Well, I mean, the Pokemon fan base is dog shit.
So we're getting 2 DLC packs that come with your $29.99 purchase, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first one is called the Isle of Armor. So this one's coming out before June 30th.
Yep.
So sometime in the first half of the year, probably in June. Let's be real.
Yeah,
probably around E3 time.
Well, it said June. It specifically is June.
June
it
2020.
Before June.
Yeah.
I thought they said before June 30th. Okay, June 2020.
Well, it's before June 30th, but it's in June. It's going to be in June.
Cool. Okay, so first half of the year, in June, we're going to get the Isle of Armor, right?
Yeah.
And this one seems to be focused more on battling stuff, right?
The theme was growth.
Growth, yes. So both expansions have a theme, and the first one is growth. So it's going to feature the dojo, sorry, it has a specific name, doesn't it? The fighting dojo, some shit like that. I don't know. Sorry.
There's an old man named Mustard.
Yeah, Mustard has the dojo. You can train your Pokemon up. They can get stronger. Blah blah blah. It's gonna have its own wild area-esque area.
Well,
it's gonna. Huh?
It's interesting because they mention it's more temperate than Galar is. Yeah. But everything is seemingly wild area in both of these expansions, which we can get to later on. But pretty wild.
Yes.
Nice pun.
So yeah, pretty wild. So this one is going to be more focused on like a beachy type environment, right? They specifically mentioned that this Isle of Armor is going to which is also the name of the area, I should say. It's filled with environments not seen in Galar before, like beaches, forests, bogs, caves, and sand dunes. So it's a nice little lush island. Pretty cool. Very different from Galar for sure.
Really?
And then there's gonna be over 100 new Pokemon with this one, right? It seems like this one's going to be focused more on like the kind of things you can expect with a post game, right?
Yeah. To clarify, 100 old Pokemon.
Yeah. Sorry, not 100 brand new Pokemon.
That would be wild. That'd be insane.
So they're bringing back 100 of the Pokemon that are missing in Sword and Shield. They're adding them in, patching them in for Isle of Armor, about 100.
And there's a new Pokemon too.
There's a new Pokemon, and his name is Kubfu. So Kubfu is he's the Wushu Pokemon. He's a little fighting cub little guy, right? Pretty cute. And he can evolve into Urshifu, and he has 2 different styles. Depending on the choices you make in the story, Urshifu will either be single strike style, which is a fighting dark type, or rapid strike style, which is a fighting water type.
Really cool.
Yeah. So and he can Gigantamax, of course. Gotta have that, right?
And different forms for each of the. They look different. Yeah. They're red and blue, which is why everyone thought they would be version exclusive because they're colored like Zamazenta and Zacian. But nope.
But no. You can get so this is not like a version exclusive thing. Urshifu, you can get both versions of him in either game.
and he's considered a legendary Pokemon, which is interesting.
Yeah, he is the legendary Pokemon of this expansion pack. So both expansion packs focus on a legendary, essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
And he evolves, which is another interesting thing.
This would be the first legendary that evolves, right? Like we've seen
Solgaleo, Lunala,
line,
yeah.
And Manaphy and Fiona, I guess, too, but...
Well, they don't. That's not an evolution.
No, they're just... There's like a line. It's dumb.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I do appreciate, for Cubfu, on their Pokedex thing, they mentioned that he's from a faraway land. So it's like, are they doing... Will it end up being like Kanto, or like Johto, because he's, Nah,
I think they might be hinting towards Gen 9 already.
That's the thing, right? It's like
yeah,
it's possible.
Or maybe they're hinting at a Chinese Pokemon, Chinese style, Wushu type Pokemon in a Britain region.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Like Kung Fu, the legend continues.
Mm-hmm. There it is.
Otherwise, any other specific features I'm missing from this specific?
3 new Gigantamax forms.
So your starters, Inteleon, Cinderace, and Rillaboom are getting Gigantamax forms.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't have this in the original, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are the 3 Kanto starters part of this one, or are they part of the next
I believe they're part of
they are.
Yeah.
Okay, so Venusaur and So Charizard already had Gigantamax. Now Venusaur and Blastoise get to join in the fun,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Blastoise is a walking fortress.
Yeah.
Oh, they look really cool.
And then there's gonna be new costumes, new bike, whatever.
Yeah, they said there was a couple things that are shared among both, which is they're gonna have their own Pokedexes, so it'll have a separate page for it, seemingly, in your thing. New regional forms will be in both. New clothing, and then new Pokemon will be added to max raids in those areas.
In those specific areas, yeah.
Yeah, and then...
Yeah.
So that's the first one, and then
one other one. Yeah. Just a couple other things really fast, which sort of goes into your post game and third version kind of stuff. Tutor moves are being added, which is normally a thing that happens in third versions in Pokemon games.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're adding apricorns, and then restricted battle sparring, which is another sort of late game if you are really into the combat of Pokemon. Apparently, it's sort of like Battle Tower a little bit, but each seemingly round they give different restrictions. So you can't use a Pokemon of a certain type, you can't use a Pokemon of a certain level, blah 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 blah. And they said the intention is for you to have to construct multiple teams with Pokemon that you wouldn't normally be using.
Which is really cool.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I'm into that.
So yeah, like we said, I think the Olive Armor is very much like a even more expanded though version of the traditional post game that the Pokemon games usually get, right?
Sure.
Yeah. The game already had post game stuff, and it's nothing less than what have been accustomed to the last couple.
Couple games, yeah. And so, but this is just taking it to 11, I would say.
Yeah, this is like the third version and more.
Yeah.
Quite honestly.
Yep.
I do want to point out something real quick before we go to the next one too. One of my coworkers was like, "I don't get it. How does this work? You're gonna have level 100 Pokemon. You're gonna go in there and cruise through it." And I was like, "Well, that's a kind of a good question. They didn't really bring it up, but my thought is that they'll probably have it where you are not allowed, because they said you get the new legendary there, Cubfu, whatever his name is, as you're given him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like my thought is like maybe they just don't allow you to bring. You're basically your starter, right? They don't allow you to bring over your old Pokemon until you finish the storyline, maybe.
That's
and then
probably
at
how
that
it's gonna work.
Point, it's like free reign.
I'm curious to see how they handle the level balancing with this, right? Because unlike a traditional third version, you don't have to play through all the old content to see the new stuff this time, right?
Yeah,
You're just going straight to the new area, to the new stuff.
So that's my best guess.
And plus, to be fair, again, there's the whole new area with a whole bunch of Pokemon in it that are not in the other regions, right? And so I'm sure if you caught a Pokemon immediately from that area, boom, you have a Pokemon that's around the level that you want it to be, right?
Yeah.
So that's always a possibility too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Isle of Armor, and then there's the Crown Tundra, right? And so this one is focused on exploration.
Yeah.
So this one is like it's a snowy area, as tundra would imply, right? Got winter mountains. Apparently, there's people live in small communities where they support and rely on one another in this frigid area. Yeah?
Okay.
A certain person who will appoint the player as the leader of their exploration team. And you get to investigate the reaches of the frozen land. You get to go, and so I think this is the interesting part. You'll be able to actually explore in the Pokemon dens that the max raid battles happen in.
Yes.
So you'll be able to go through these Pokemon dens, and they hinted at expanded co-op features. So my guess is you're going to be able to go through those dungeons with a friend. Right?
Yes.
I think that's
the artwork showed 4 players.
Yeah.
Or 4
which
trainers.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Expanding the co-op features, I think, is brilliant because that's one of the best parts of Sword and Shield, right?
Yeah.
And so having co-op dungeons, I think, would be very cool, very good addition. I assume this area is going to be even bigger than the other one because this, like I said, they're focusing on exploration, right?
Yeah.
And all the legendaries are coming back, baby. So
every
Nearly.
single one.
We've seen
Nearly.
all but the 3 Musketeer Pokemon, or 4 Musketeers, I guess now, and the
Mythicals.
Ultra Beasts.
yeah, and the Ultra Beast, yeah.
Oh, Ultra Beasts aren't legendaries.
Yeah, Ultra Beast. But I assume since only the 3 Musketeers are missing, I'm gonna take a guess and say they're in there too.
Yeah.
We'll see, of course. Maybe they're just those 3 are missing. Who knows? But we've seen all
And
of them
Regigigas.
in the-
We did not see Regigigas, but that might be
Okay.
because he's tying into
but
stuff
we
in the game.
did see some new Pokemon that look like new Reggies, right?
Yes.
Because we saw Reggie
Yeah.
Ice, we saw Reggie Steel, and Reggie Rock, but then we saw
yeah.
2 new ones. And we're like, whoa,
Like,
what's
are
this?
they? The question is, are they Galarian forms of the Reggie?
I
No,
think
because
they're
they
Galarian
showed those
forms,
3
because
and they showed
yeah.
new rooms that they're
Yeah,
in.
that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Because somebody was like, I think they might be the version.
And they have different
Galarian
dot
versions.
layouts.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that they are.
Because
new
they go
Pokemon.
out of the way to specifically show normal Reggie Ice, Reggie Steel, and Reggie Rock,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
And the new ones look to be Electric and Dragon.
Cool.
They look real fucking cool.
They look real interesting. And the Reggies always they're a little weirdos, right? And I like them. But these definitely fit in that. The
All I care
the
about is
focus
that my boy
Pokemon?
Zapdos is back.
yes,
back in the
so,
building.
I guess
He's an
before I
ostrich.
get into that, so the famous birds, legendary birds from Kanto are back. Zapdos, seemingly Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno. Except they have new Galarian forms. They look very different than they used to.
Very cool.
He shoots
Artic-
laser beams from his eyeball, Articuno does.
Yeah, Articuno firing fucking laser beams out of his eyes. That's my favorite
Zapdos
thing. Though.
can't even fly anymore.
No, he's an ostrich, dude. He's just
He
got
looks like
powerful
like
legs.
a road runner.
Yeah, there's a lot going on
care.
with him.
Zapdos is the man.
Definitely good. Definitely, I like the new designs a lot. The new Galarian forms.
Yeah.
This one is centered around a new legendary Pokemon named Calyrex. He is the king Pokemon. So I guess
You can tell by the
that's
name.
where the crown comes in, huh?
Big brain.
Psychic Grass Pokemon, yeah, big brain for sure.
They say he once ruled over this part of Galar that included the Crown Tundra, and he can see the past, present, and future, which is one of those great Pokedex lies that you don't want to inspect because the whole world falls apart if you do.
There's a lot going
Now,
on there.
is he your? They didn't say like with the other one. You know you get a legendary as your starter. They didn't say that about this one. So
No, I imagine he will be a late game.
Yeah.
boy.
yeah.
Same
We don't
market.
know what the situation with this one. Maybe there is a new Pokemon that's your starter, and maybe not. Who knows?
This to me seems like it will be more you can probably carry over your Pokemon if I were to take a guess, just because you're fighting a lot of legendaries, right?
That's
like
true.
they showed like 50 of them. Thereabouts. So I mean that might take up an honest big chunk of the 100 Pokemon that they're adding to this one. You know?
So this
Yeah.
is also getting 100 new over 100 returning Pokemon.
Yes.
That were not available in the Galar decks. This is also getting new costumes, new this and that, right? Bike stuff. And I think what's cool about this one is it just seems both of these. I think having a big old wild area-esque environment, I think is very cool, right?
Yeah.
I think they've clearly seen that the wild area was a big deal. People have responded positively to it, right? So now that we kind of know what's in them, I want to talk about just as a general what you feel about this. Starting with, I mean, they just
one final thing.
Oh, sure, about the
So they did an update today where you can catch a Galarian Slowpoke.
Oh, sure, yeah. So if you buy the expansion pass now, you actually get some stuff.
Well, you get without. It's a free update. You can just get Slowpoke if you want.
Oh, you can get Slowpoke regardless, even if you don't buy it.
But you can evolve him because you get your evolution stuff for him in each of the packs.
Yes.
So for Slowbro, it's Isle of Armor. Slowking is Frozen Tundra.
The absolute madman. I don't know if you've ever seen A Drive. He's a Pokemon streamer. He fucking got a shiny one already.
It was within like 15 minutes.
Wicked fast. I think it only took him like 30 something eggs, maybe.
And the other thing that we did not mention about Isle of Armor also is that in that same cutscene, there is you have a rival. Yeah. It's version exclusive. So there's Clara.
The rival is different depending on which version you get.
Clara's poison type, and Avery is shield. Who's psychic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you get a bonus if you buy it now. You get Pikachu and Eevee costumes for your character.
Oh, baby.
Oh boy. I really like those rivals, because they mentioned, remember we went through that weird saga where there was like 18 gems, and we were like, whoa. But they specifically made a point that there are other types out there. They may be paying they're sort of paying it off here, right? They say that that both of them want to become strong enough to become major league gym leaders, right?
Yes.
Which is a cool little just piece of world building,
Agree.
And motivation.
This is a big expansion, right? This is a big expansion.
Sure.
I think it's worth $30, first of all. But I want to talk about. So I'm talking about some specific key points here. All right, just overarching things. So they straight up said, and I thought this was fascinating. They're like, hey, in the past we've done third versions, right? And they showed on the screen Pokemon Emerald, Platinum. They even showed Black and White too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ultra Sun, Ultra Run. They're like, we're not doing that this time. Straight up, we're not doing that this time. Here's the expansion pass. This is kind of replacing that, right? This is essentially the big Pokemon release for the year, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, first of all, how do you guys feel about just, hey, Pokemon's doing DLC, and it's big scale like this. It's replacing third versions. Initial thoughts?
I love it.
I think it's way better.
Yeah. They were ahead of the curve in a certain way, not in necessarily a positive way, with the third versions, right? But the industry and the way that this post-launch support has developed in the meanwhile makes it harder and harder to justify doing third versions, especially on like the Switch, right? Where every other Nintendo first-party release has the season passes now, right? And so I think that it's ultimately smart to make this decision. It's funny if you actually run the math, right? This will probably skew way more digital than, a third version will, right? And if you factor out retail cuts, which is about 30%, they're making the same amount of money really off of you buying this expansion pass as they would selling a $40 version of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
But you're paying less, especially because on Switch,
and you're paying less. You're only paying
right?
30, right? But because of the way that cuts, things get piecemealed when you're in retail, it's actually a win-win for everyone, really.
Yes. And I genuinely, I mean, we'll see, I guess, when it comes out. But it seems like we're getting more content than we ever would have in a third version, right? We're getting more story content, more. I mean, and all the traditional stuff we've come to know and love about those third versions, right?
Now we just need 3 more to get the missing 300 Pokemon.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I do think this is a smart way of also, and also it's worth noting, hey, all those old Pokemon that are coming back, you do not have to buy the DLC, okay?
This is important.
To access them in the game, like to catch them, I guess, in the game, of course you have to access the new areas, but if you have them from previous games and transfer them through Pokemon Home, which is launching in February, by the way, or even just trading with people, you don't have to, you don't have the expansion, you're trading, you can get the Pokemon without needing to buy the DLC.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very important, very, very good.
It's the right thing to do, right? If they hadn't done it, I would have been like, that's not cool, right?
I thought I would. Yeah, I think the same. But they did only not only the smart thing, but they did the right.
It's the right,
sure.
Yeah.
And I do have one question, because I think there's one. I mean, it's weird to ask this, right? But there was one downside I think that is getting rid of third versions, right? Mm-hmm. Which is that one thing that actually has happened in the meanwhile is that like definitive editions of games have started to happen, right?
Yes.
And so, like, there's a people that will say Dying Light Definitive Edition is like an appreciably better game than the first game, right?
Sure.
I hear that with Dark Souls, Scholar of the First Sin, right? These different things. Pokemon, like, famously, I think Platinum is the biggest example. Like, getting a second pass sometimes makes some of those games markedly better, right?
Definitely.
And so do you think that there is some unfortunate downside to, like, I know some people, when they finish Sword and Shield, were like, hey, man, some of those late game areas felt a little half-baked. I can't wait to see them expanded in the third version. Do you think the fact that that won't be happening now because they're doing this expansion pass instead, is there any, do you think that that anyway affects the positives that we've been saying so far?
No.
Personally, no.
Well, I don't see why you can't update those areas.
Well, I don't think they will. I think
patches
that
and stuff.
the DLC is very clearly focused on the new areas.
No, I mean obviously not right now, but later on.
Well, sure, later maybe. I do think, personally speaking, even as great as the updates that Diamond and Pearl to Platinum was, right?
Yes.
Just making it a better game. Realistically, though, you are just repeating a lot of the same content, though.
80%.
Yes.
For essentially what's like, at the end of the day, and I'm someone who appreciates Platinum a lot, but at the end of the day, they are mostly minor differences, right?
Sure.
I think they tighten up the game a lot, right? But I would rather just see brand new stuff, just personally speaking.
Same.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because even, like, I'll give you an example. The first time I played Black and White 2, right? The first time I played Black and White 2, which is my favorite Pokemon game, just to be clear, I actually dropped it immediately because I was like, I got to Unova Desert and I was like, I've already kind of played this. Like, yeah, this is a new game, but like I've already kind of done this and I don't want to do this again. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I
That's how
dropped
I
it.
feel about every Pokemon game.
Okay, well, you know.
Sure.
But like just going through that same areas was kind of a bummer. And I went back to it later and I had a very big appreciation for it. Again, it's my favorite Pokemon game, right? But it's worth noting, like, you know, it is asking a lot for someone to go through the entire game again, you know, essentially, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
I
Especially
think,
when they,
so go ahead.
if they're hardcore enough, they've gone through it at least twice now already.
Right. Yeah. And so
I think
I'd
there's
rather
always
just
also
focus on the
been
new content personally. Like I'm happy we're getting new areas to explore. You know.
Yeah, and I think there's also always been sort of like. There's been a weird fit for third versions, right? Because it's hard to know the split of how many people are buying it that have already bought the first version, how many of these are just people that are picking up the game years down the line, right?
Yeah.
Because Pokemon famously doesn't go down in price, so there's like not a lot of reason to buy Ruby if Emerald's out, you know? And so I think that ultimately, I think it's more that second person, actually. I think that if you look in the online discourse, right, there's people that will, you know, swear by these third versions, but I think most people that are picking them up we're playing these for the first time, and so I think that it's a better fit for everyone at the end of the day to have Sword and Shield just go an extra year of sales wise, of that being the new Pokemon game, and if you want to pay the $30 for the expansion pass, you can do it. You know?
Yeah, Sword and Shield gets an extra year of sales, right? It gets an extra year of marketing, right? It gets to be a big deal at E3 again. It gets to be a big deal for the holiday season again. You know.
Yeah. And there are people that just will be picking up a Switch over the next year, and it'll be one of the games that they'll pick up as they get the console, you know?
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's a good fit. It would suck for you to get Sword and Shield, and then 2 months later figure out, oh, there's Gun. We're gonna get Gun.
And I will say, even the most recent example of a third version, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, right? I was kind of bummed when they announced that, because it was just a year after, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was largely the same game, right? And it was different enough, I guess, right? But not for me. I did not have the drive to play that game. I did not play through Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon because I was just like, there's some differences, but like I can't get myself to go through that whole story again. I just don't want to do this, you know?
Sure.
And you could argue Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was like, you know, maybe like the worst third version we've had or whatever, right? But arguable. I'm saying.
I think it's closer to the other ones than Pokemon fans want to admit.
Sure. Yeah. I can agree to that. I don't know for sure. I'm just saying.
No, fight about it. Come on.
I'm just saying for argument's sake, if people are gonna be like, oh well, that's not a good example. It's this.
I mean, I would say Z was probably the worst.
Well, sure, because it doesn't exist. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I'm fine. I think this is they're modernizing the franchise. You know. And
yeah,
I think
I'm all in.
And I
love it.
I honestly think this is a win for Game Freak. I think this is a win for us. I really do. I think that I you know, and again, you don't have to buy that. And I think a big also underrated part of this new model is, hey, if you're into competitive Pokemon, if you're into multiplayer Pokemon, right? You don't actually have to buy the newest thing this time to keep updated, you know?
Sure.
You don't have to.
Because all this stuff will be getting patched into the game you already own, you know?
Yeah. I just don't get it. I really don't. Like, any complaints, I don't understand. I feel like they're so petty. I just don't understand it.
I get insofar as, I mean, Kingdom Hearts went through a similar conversation last month, right?
Yeah.
Which is, if you feel like there are things that are missing from the base game that you wish were there, that were in previous entries, and now they're being added in this DLC that costs extra, you're like, well, it should have just been the original package, right? And I get that, and, you know, with things more like the first pack, sort of more post-game kind of stuff, right? Even though I was fine with the post-game in Sword and Shield, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they're doing as right as they can with where everything is, right?
Yes.
Which I think is ultimately sort of one of my takeaways from this direct, is like, this was a weird moment. Pokemon Sword and Shield famously, you know, we reached a level of controversy that the series had never seen before. And this was going to be their first conversation sort of with their fan base after sort of this very tumultuous time for the franchise. And I think that, you know, I mean, I think it's worth note that almost every other Nintendo franchise sells their season pass in the Switch era as the game's coming out, right? And it'll you know, Fire Emblem is like, we have 4 passes, here's what they're going to entail. You'll get, there's quote unquote news story content, right? They're light on details. I think that they intentionally made the decision here. We're going to wait till we have appreciable things to show, right?
You know, and I think, you know, which is why they had a bunch of concept art to show. And I think partially why they showed a bunch of concept art is because, I mean, hey, this stuff is not ready, right? This is not stuff they just cut from the game, right?
Yes, that's the other thing too,
stuff,
is
right?
making it clear that this was not stuff that they just, like you said, cut. Because that's obviously is always the concern with, you know, after that era of on-disc DLC sort of poisoned that well for years, you sort of have to try to justify yourself every time you add a season pass to a game, or expansion pass, I guess.
Well, I mean, my biggest thing is, like, I've seen people shouting, paywall, oh, it's a paywall to get the rest of the Pokemon, which just doesn't, if you think about it, there has always been a paywall, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's buying both versions, whether it's, the thing that really, and I just want to explain this to people who don't remember, or maybe they're not old enough, but Gen 3, okay? If you want to talk about paywall, I just want to take you back to when Gen 3 came out. There was a cutoff, right? You couldn't transfer Gen 2 to Gen 3 anymore.
Yeah.
They started fresh. You couldn't get every Pokemon in Ruby and Sapphire, okay? They were programmed into the game, yes. But there was a paywall if you wanted every Pokemon in that game, okay? Because not only were they not all there, they did the remakes of Gen 1, which was Ruby and Sapphire, all right, already 2 games you'd have to buy. Leaf Green, Fire Red, 2 different games if you wanted all the Pokemon between the 2 of them, okay?
Sure.
And that's just Gen 1, that they're like, okay, well, there's the rest of the Gen 1 Pokemon. But Gen 2... No, there's not a Gen 2 remake. You have to have a different system, the Nintendo GameCube, with Pokemon Coliseum, and then eventually Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. You had to spend like $1,000 to get all the Pokemon back then. I don't want to hear one person complain about a paywall behind $30 to get the rest of your Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like
Jesus.
The Pokemon that they're adding, if you've caught that Pokemon, that species of Pokemon before, right?
Yes.
In the 3DS games, in Pokemon Go, right? You can use Pokemon Home and you can transfer them there, and I think that's cool.
That's the thing. And the people that are complaining probably already have them, and they were on their 3DS.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. Like, and this was 300 Pokemon back then that you had to spend like $1,000 on.
Now there's like $1,000.
Because they gotta catch them all.
It's just so.
I do think it's interesting. Speaking of that, though, that that Pokemon Home only got basically 2 sentences in the entire direct. I think a lot of people when they walked in were expecting that to be sort of the focus, right?
Yep.
Right. We don't know what the UI, the interface, what exactly
it looks like
everything
they're
does.
just gonna drop it on Twitter one day and just like, hey, Pokemon Home is out today.
There it is.
And they did put asterisk, some features will be behind a paywall, which we sort of assumed, right?
Yeah.
We assumed there'd be paywall. But I wonder what those
will be.
some features will be, right?
Yeah.
Pokemon Home will be interesting to see if there's anything beyond just literally being a bank, right?
Well, it won't be too long before we find out, though. One last note about Pokemon, I guess, before I want to move on to Mystery Dungeon, and then finally we can move on from Pokemon as a whole. So what do you guys think is, like, what do you think is the future of, like, Pokemon generations, you know? Even as soon as next year, you know? Next year's the 25th anniversary. Are we going to get more DLC? Are they skipping a year? Are we getting Diamond Pro remakes? What's the deal?
I was going to ask, because I think it's interesting. They sort of, their verbiage was very much leaving the door open to having stuff after this if they wanted to. They said like, these are key elements of the things we want you to do in Pokemon Sword and Shield that we're working on.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I think there's a non-zero chance that, like,
it pulls a Smash Brothers. Hey, season 2 of DLC.
We're just gonna keep going. I think that there's a non-zero chance that we will end up in a very weird situation where Pokemon Sword and Shield will be the biggest Pokemon game, quote unquote, right? But it'll be in 3 years, and suddenly the whole idea of generations will be thrown off. You know, I don't know if that's a guarantee. I think there's a lot of value to having a new gen. Clearly, the difference between, like, Let's Go and Sword and Shield illustrates that, right? People love new Pokemon. Yep. But I think it'll be interesting to see moving forward. Just the last pattern was broken, right? Like, we've done it now, you know, like we went a generation without having a third version. We went a generation without having a remake. Now we're going a generation where there's DLC, and who knows if there'll be another game, period. You know, Diamond and Pearl remakes are not a guarantee. Like a lot of people assumed they were walking into this direct. And so, yeah, I think it'll be fun to walk into a Pokemon announcement and not know what it is from sort of now on, you know, barring obviously leaks. But yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Oh, also thank the heavens that this did not get leaked. There was no data mine, nothing.
Yeah,
it was a nice surprise. I wasn't expecting this at all.
Yeah, and I think it was nice to see A, that this is happening, and B, that it's just way more meaty than I could have ever imagined. You know,
at the risk of burning some people, I do think it was very funny. So the Play Pokemon Twitter account back on Wednesday posted some screenshot that had, like, the different form of Gastrodon in it. And everyone's like, can you believe these morons? They already leaked their direct. And I was like, I don't think they're gonna spend much time on the pink version of Gastrodon.
Yo, before the direct this morning, I was talking to a coworker, and he links me on my computer. He sends me a chat message. He links me a comicbook.com article that says more new Pokemon might be heading to Sword and Shield based on an accidental, like, mix-up. And I look at it, I click on it, and I'm like, this is clickbait, dude. This is clickbait as fuck. And he's like, what do you mean? There's a pink Gastrodon. I'm like, that doesn't hint at anything. He's like, yeah, but pink Gastrodon's not in the game. I'm like, Gastrodon was already in the game.
Yeah, that would just be confirming that Pokemon Home will let you transfer Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, they already confirmed you could send Pokemon home Pokemon. Like, that doesn't hint at shit, dude. That's the most clickbait article. And we argued about it for, like, until the direct.
There it is.
And here we are. All right, so that's Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield.
I just want to talk about the MVP of the direct, and that's Hiroyuki Tani's luxurious long hair.
He has such good hair.
He's got nice hair.
It's cool. I'm cool that he gets to direct, by the way. He's a new director for Pokemon. So
yeah, so new guy. Also, Persona has no more excuse. I just want to throw that out there, by the way. Monster Hunter has moved on to doing DLC expansions. Kingdom Hearts has moved on to doing DLC expansions. Pokemon has moved on to doing. What is Persona 5 Royal doing at $60? Get out of here. That should have been DLC. So
Pokemon, even Masuda himself back in the day said they would never do it, but here we are.
So Persona, get with the times. All I'm saying.
Exactly. He changed with the times. I've also seen people being, Masuda said he'd never do DLC. He's a sellout now. Yo, this was 7 years ago, dude.
Like, chill out, yeah. All right, so there was one more announcement that started this Pokemon Direct. Smaller announcement. It is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. So this is actually a remake of the original game that came to Game Boy Advance and DS back in 2006. Mm-hmm. Now with the gorgeous new art style. It's a full remake, right? I should get
very
that
cool art style.
Looks
very cool.
Very storybook-esque, right?
Yeah.
100 Acre Woods vibes.
100 Acre,
Ooh,
yeah.
It is.
They've actually done a lot of big changes to the game, both in terms of gameplay and just seemingly new content, right? Like we've seen Pokemon that were we've seen Megaforms, which did not exist back when
we saw Lucaria and we saw Mega Charizard X.
There seem to be achievements that seem to detail that there's actually a lot more content than you would think in this game, right?
Sure.
So it's almost like a brand new Mystery Dungeon, quite frankly, with the amount of new stuff that there is. The specific things that they call out as new features in the press release, they have auto mode now, which you can just press the L button. Hey, things kind of move by themselves.
Didn't they kind of already do that?
You could hold B and they would move to the maximum space they could move, so you didn't have to like hold forward the whole way.
And I think they added that feature into later games. This is the first time it's coming to the original, I guess. If I had
you could do that in Blue Rescue Team, but that's what
I don't know.
Before you had to select from 4 moves. No, that's as it always was, right? You would just press the A button. I don't know.
Now you had to do specific bindings. So you would have to hold L plus up plus A to do your move.
Okay. Now you could just kind of press A, and they'll use the best moves that they have. Up to 8 Pokemon can travel with you. I guess, is that new? I don't know.
That is new. There was a maximum of 4 before. So the problem was frequently that you would. The way that you like get friends in Mystery Dungeon is that every time you kill a Pokemon, you just have a chance. You feint a Pokemon. They have a chance of being like, I want to join your crew. But the problem was if you already had 4 slots, you were done for. So there would be times where you get a rare Pokemon and you'd be like, well, I have to just get rid of someone, basically, right? So this makes that easier.
What kind of game is this?
So Mystery Dungeon is like a... How do you describe Mystery Dungeon?
It's an isometric... Not isometric. It's over-the-head dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
Randomized floor levels every time you go through, right? Mm-hmm. And sort of... But it pulls from, like... There are specific dungeons you go through, right? And they pull from... In Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, they pull from different pools of Pokemon for each set of dungeons you do. There's a story. It's sort of... the style fits because it's almost very sort of fantasy, like it's a whole world where Pokemon talk to each other. They have their own society. You're a human that's got turned into a Pokemon. They don't worry about that much. But
I get that part. Just what's the gameplay like?
You walk around. The main thing is like you're managing resources sort of along the way. Like you have a hunger meter that you sort of like manage as the further you go. You can do regular attacks in your Pokemon moves as well. And there's the type matchups and everything from Pokemon that they bring in as well.
Well, luckily, if you're still confused as to what this game is, there's a free demo out now. And your progress carries over into the full game.
Which is good because it's coming soon.
Yeah, it's coming out March 6th, which is very soon. 2 months from now.
Very soon.
A couple of weeks.
Maybe I might give it a try. The thing is, I bought the original one on the DS when it first came out. I did not like it at all. Like, I just really didn't like it.
I've shit-talked the game on this very podcast, I'm pretty sure. But they fooled me into giving it another chance. I wanna try this one.
I didn't like it at all. Like I played every Pokemon spin-off at the time.
Yeah.
So I gave it except for Pokemon Dash. Fuck that shit. But I gave it a try and I didn't like it, so I skipped down on every single one after. Even though there's certain corners of the internet that like, oh my god,
Explorers
people will kill you over Explorers of Sky, dude.
Yeah.
It's serious.
Ooh, I cried. Okay.
Yeah. No, but I think it is worth mentioning. They mentioned in the presentation. This is the longest running Pokemon spin-off franchise. It's 15 years old.
Yes.
Like so there's a group of people that were 8 when this game came out that are now 22 and are like, man, this was my childhood, right? So like you could see why for a group of people this meant the world to them, right?
Yeah, and here us pinball stands over here starving.
You are. I'm not going to claim against that.
It is funny. I saw a lot of Mystery Dungeons so confident that the franchise was dead, especially because in interviews for the last one, which I guess at this point is now 5 years ago.
Wait, why do people like Explorers of Sky? It got like a 4.9 from IGN.
Well,
no, one of the biggest divides you'll ever see in like Metacritic versus like user score is Explorers of Sky. It's the lowest reviewed Pokemon game. Well, the thing is, it's a Mystery Dungeon game, but it's a third version of a Mystery Dungeon game, and reviewers were like, "You can't fucking do this. We don't like this game enough to do a third version," and you feel like you can get away with it. But for the Mystery Dungeon fans,
It was like
they were for it, you know.
But like, it's only been 5 years since the last one. Yeah. So but this is the most plentiful of.
This is like the 6th one.
Yeah. So they get a lot. It makes sense though to bring this to Switch, right? Like they were successful enough on the 3DS. It would be silly not to bring them over. I mean, it's the longest running, but it's the longest running also because it's the most successful of the Pokemon spin-offs. You know?
Really?
So,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. People like. I mean, clearly there's a market for this, right?
Yeah.
Clearly.
As long as Ranger stays dead, I'm good.
Yeah.
Ranger. I will not claim that. No, we'll not hear the Ranger fans. Won't hear it. You know.
Yeah, who are you? If you're here, fuck you.
I've seen a couple, but yeah.
Oh god, dude, I bought the first one for Manaphy, and I'll tell you, it sucked. You had to beat the game.
You had to beat that
was
game.
not having fun.
Spin that stick.
So that's enough about Pokemon. We've talked a lot about Pokemon.
Thank God.
40 minutes of Pokemon.
Don't worry about it.
It's finally over.
We should probably have a
Pay attention
disclaimer.
to the man
Hey,
behind the mirror.
if you don't like Pokemon, just skip this episode.
40 minutes.
That's the
in.
title.
40 minutes.
I wish I could.
Cool. I don't have to think about title this
So we have
week.
a couple of non-Pokemon headlines this week, believe it or not. It is the beginning of the week, so things are light, of course. Beginning of the year, beginning of the week. It's the beginning of the year. But Platinum Games got a big ol' investment from a company named Tencent. You may have heard of them. Big Chinese company. They have their fingers in a lot of places, and a lot of places in gaming in particular. Hell, Nintendo just partnered with them last year to release the Switch in China.
I heard of them, but when I saw the public reaction to it, I was like, is there something about these guys I don't know?
They're just from China, and people are very scared of China.
Yeah, there's a little bit of xenophobia mixed in there, but it's okay.
I hate people.
But
Don't they have like some tie to the Chinese government or something?
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean every major Chinese company.
every major
does.
Chinese does, yeah. But so this is worth noting because this is specifically because Platinum wants to get into self-publishing. This is something they've mentioned before, but now they have the funds to do it, seemingly. Zhugi X, known industry analyst, insider, all that good stuff.
Does a lot of emphasis in Chinese stuff. Too,
Yeah,
so.
he does a lot of specific, he gets paid big money to do analysis about video game market in China, right? So he knows a lot about this stuff. He mentioned on Twitter that, hey, this is not really an investment, so Tencent doesn't really own a X% of Platinum.
Yes.
This is more of a loan, really. So don't expect Tencent to be now calling the shots at Platinum, you know?
Yeah.
That's good.
Which, I mean, they made very clear that, they specifically, this will have no effect on the independence of our company, and we will continue to operate under our current corporate structure. So, like...
Yep. So yeah, Tencent doesn't really, they're not really calling the shot. They don't even have a stake in the company, right? This is just really a loan more than anything.
Yeah.
So don't get worried.
And specifically, again, Platinum wants to go into self-publishing, right? I think they're tired of relying on publishers to fund the games that, whatever Nintendo or Square Enix thinks is deemed worthy of being published. I'm sure they're happy to continue working with these companies. I imagine that's not going to stop anytime soon, right?
Yes.
But
they want to own their IPs is the main
They want to own their IPs, and I think that's a big thing in particular. And so, good for them.
I blame Microsoft.
If they start doing self-publishing, they'll only start owning IPs that they make from here on out, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So they don't own... Well, they have co-ownership of the IPs that they've made with Nintendo.
Yeah.
But like the games they make with Sega, for example, they have no ownership of that. Like Bayonetta,
Right, like
Vanquish.
Bayonetta.
The Bayonetta 1 plus Vanquish combo is giving Sega money, not Platinum.
Yeah. Whereas, Wonderful 101, Astro Chain, those are co-owned. So Nintendo owns half of it, but Platinum owns the other half. But I imagine Platinum would just like to have full ownership of something for once,
Yes.
Yeah.
Would be nice. I mean, we've kind of seen From Software kind of move into that, right? Like Sekiro and Elden Ring. For the first time, they own their own IPs.
Yeah, probably because they don't want to look back at things like Beautiful Joe and say, well, we can't touch that anymore, even though we'd like to.
Yep. It would be nice to have the freedom to be able to, do stuff with the IPs worlds that they created.
Control the destiny of your own franchises.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. Good stuff for Platinum. Hope it works out for them. Wish them all the best.
Yeah, same.
In other news, the Sony had
Oh baby!
So the Consumer Electronics Show is it's a tech show. Don't ever expect gaming news there, right?
They had to announce a car.
But
can't announce the PS5 when we have a car.
Jim Ryan came on stage, talked about PlayStation, talked about big sales updates. Hey, we've sold 106 million systems. We've sold over 1 billion copies of software on the PlayStation 4.
Which is crazy.
5 million PSVRs. So,
great numbers.
system.
Come on. You can't say it's not.
No,
Attach rate of 10 for $100 million console is crazy.
It's crazy. It is crazy. So obviously big success, right? But then he was like, "Hey, we have a new console coming this year, holiday 2020, PS5." Showed off the logo, and then kind of went through a recap of everything that they have announced through Wired articles.
Yep.
Right? Like, hey, there's a solid state drive. Hey, there's no loading times. We got haptic feedback. We got haptic triggers, all that good stuff. Right? But no new info really besides, hey, here's a new logo. Right? Which, to be fair, hey, you should not have expected PS5 news in the first place. Okay? Number one.
And I mean, from a show perspective, right? You're at CES, you have to mention PlayStation if you're Sony, huge part of your company, right?
Yeah.
And you have to, but like they put it at the front, right? They were like, I get the feeling they knew that like more video game people would be watching for potential news than like people that were excited for new earbuds, right?
Uh-huh.
So they were sort of like, okay, here's Jim Ryan up first. This is the logo. We'll see you in a couple months. Bye. But then the thing that happened there was then suddenly there was a discourse around this dumb logo. People had to have takes about this logo. People had to have takes about the logo. There's a meta commentary about the state of the video game industry because a fucking 5 is at the end of the PS. And you're like, what are we doing? Is this how next gen's going to be? The answer is yes. Right? Like, but it's going to be wild. People are going to kill each other over the next year. So please be excited for that.
Please be excited for that. Yeah.
I'm already snoring.
Also, kind of a little worth noting, maybe. It is the most liked gaming post on Instagram ever.
Wow.
So, I mean, clearly there's
What?
a thirst for the PS5, right?
Yeah. I mean, the PS4 is selling super well, right? You can't say that like there's not going to be interest in the follow-up.
People are salivating for this system. So
Not a huge
Can't wait.
shock.
look forward to it. Hopefully next month, we'll see.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm emptying out my credit cards right now so that I can.
I mean,
I
after
can
we had the
afford-
podcast last week, they have like 5 must-buy launch games. So yeah, you better get ready.
Yes, true.
Well, oh Jesus!
Wait, what games are you talking about?
All the games we
Horizon-
predicted last year.
All the-
Oh, right. My bad.
Yeah,
Sorry.
all the games.
Yeah.
No, we spoiled, by the way.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an expensive November for you,
I'll
boy.
tell you that much. So hopefully, last PS4 unveil was in February, so maybe history will repeat itself here, right? We'll get PS5 unveil in February, but we'll see. Looking forward
It's
to
gonna
it.
be a box.
Otherwise, that is all the news for this week. Now
We did it.
We transition into the list.
The
The list.
So I don't actually know whose turn it is to add.
It's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. That's
Well,
good.
do we know how to vamp, guys?
Yeah.
Fill air. Well,
Fill air.
well, what I had last week? I brought a game, right?
Will, you brought it in. What did you bring, Will? Please tell
Wait,
me.
did you say follow along in the pace?
Lego Star Wars.
I did, and you can
Yeah.
see by following along in the pastebin below
Yeah.
that Lego Star Wars did 113 on a list of 157.
Correct.
Now, this is a good time while you think, Moose. We should pitch something, right? This is a good time to mention it. So, you, if you have listened to the podcast, are aware of Hell. That's where the bad games go as a concept. That's where the bad games go when we rank them. And Muzamil made his own deal with the devil of sorts. You may know that he's not on the Jump Up Supercast Game Club regularly, right? But he wants to be on once a year to get to pick a game. And so to do so, Moose is going to go onto our Twitch channel. He is going to play 5 hours at a minimum of every game that is currently in Hell. And once they get added, I'm not sure on that ruling.
If a game gets added to Hell, he has to play it.
5 hours of it.
Oh,
5
man.
hours of it.
Now I just
And-
want to pick shit games.
As long as he wants to be on once a year game club.
Yes. And he has to play the entirety of Sonic 06.
Yes.
So,
Wait, so did you do this yesterday?
we started much, the Charon, the ferryman to the gates of hell is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, right? So he's playing that. He might be done. If you check our Twitch channel, there should be some archives of some streams. They're fun. Sonic Adventure 2 is a great video game. And
It's an awesome game.
And so once he's done with that, he will continue his journey through all 11 layers of hell as of right now.
Because, the Sonic Adventure 2 is him fulfilling a bet that he made with you at one point. Right?
Correct. E3 bet from 2 years ago now. After he's done with Sonic 06, he's going to play Chrono Trigger on stream. What a
Get
shift.
Palate cleanser.
From worst to best.
You're gonna fucking need it.
So, with all that having been said, Moozemil, have you thought of a game to add? Potentially to Hell?
Not particularly, but we're just gonna shoot.
Shooting from the hip, brother.
Yeah.
Best way to shoot.
So
Worst
how
way to shoot.
about let's add a launch game, okay?
Okay.
We're talking
Walk me through it.
There are 50 consoles to pull from.
Let's talk about a launch game. I want to talk about perhaps the greatest launch game. Okay.
Well, okay.
And that is.
Wii Sports is already on the list. So.
Super Mario 64.
I'm trying to think of a bad launch game.
Nintendogs plus cats.
Let's have Nintendogs.
No.
I was gonna say Pilot Wings Resort was the worst launch game.
Let's have Nintendogs, not plus cats. Not even a launch game, just Nintendogs for the Nintendo.
Cool.
I would
I've never
rank
played
Nintendogs higher than Nintendogs plus cats.
I've never played
Ah, shit.
Nintendogs.
Have you?
Yeah, me neither.
Ah, god damn.
Oh,
it,
shucks.
Come on. The fuck?
How do you not play Nintendo? Okay, well, what about?
What do you
Brain
mean?
Age?
I've never played Brain.
Me neither.
Jeez. These people were not in the touch generation.
I don't play these fucking casual ass bullshit games.
No, these games were changing the industry.
Beyonce didn't trick me, Will.
Yeah,
She played Rhythm Heaven. Okay?
Okay.
You
I
played
did
Rhythm
play
Heaven.
That's
I
true.
didn't.
She got
Beyonce
you. The
didn't
queen
trick
bee
me.
always gets you.
Okay.
No,
Only
she doesn't.
Beyonce got me. The rest of them didn't. Okay.
Okay,
America
well, let's
Ferrera's
shift gears
crying.
completely then.
Damn it.
Let's add. How about we
Such
add?
a coward. Add Super Mario 64, you coward.
I don't want to add Super Mario 64. I get too much flack for adding really good games. So
That's true. That's true.
So put something in hell.
God.
Have you played any bad games?
Well, if he doesn't.
You know what? No. I don't want to add that either. Man, this is-
Jesus wept, dude.
Uh,
Add Sonic Adventure.
Alright, Brandon,
that's
it's your
the game
turn,
I was
go.
thinking of, but I don't want to add it without Saf. You know what? Let's add Sonic and All Stars Racing. I feel like Will and Brandon have to have played this.
Can we do Transformed?
Transform.
I played
I was
Transform.
gonna say, I played Transformed.
Okay. Have you all
Okay.
played Transformed?
That was the
Yeah.
game I was going to add next, actually, but
Oh.
I played it, yeah.
Boom! Sonic and All Stars Racing Transform. So this is the sequel to Sonic and All Stars Racing.
Correct.
Blah blah blah. And this game, it's a Mario Kart competitor. I think we can call it that.
It's in the kart racing genre.
It's in the kart racing genre. I think this is the clear best Sonic racing game out of all the ones that
Yes,
they've released.
by far.
The only one I
Let me
played.
tell you about
Pretty good.
Sonic Free Riders using the
Yeah.
power of the Kinect.
Yeah.
Was released 12 years ago today on this date. I'm not even kidding. I saw that on Twitter today.
I think this is a genuinely really good game. I think it added boat racing and
Flying.
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 And that you would transition like literally in the middle of the
Mhm.
race, right?
Mhm.
The
Yes.
course.
So unlike that coward Diddy Kong who had to pick it beforehand.
Exactly.
Simian Freak.
There's also the courses themselves are very dynamic, right? So from lap to
Yeah.
lap to lap, they change a lot, right?
Yes.
Which I think is very neat.
Pulling from a lot of different Sega franchises, as the name would imply.
Yes, correct.
Love the House of the Dead level.
Though for some reason Sonic's default representation always seems to be from Sonic Heroes. That's all kind of weird, but
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, maybe it's the best 3D Sonic. Who knows?
maybe. Yeah, this is a great game. It's not as good as Mario Kart 8. I'm just gonna be real with you.
No.
To another racing game on the list, right? It has a lot of good single player content, though. I do like that about this game. A lot of good single player content. Great roster, great, very pretty. Best Wii U.
There was the different modes for each character, which was cool. Good way to sort of add different builds.
Yeah. Anything else before I say where I want to put it?
We can talk about it more as we rank.
I mean, I really enjoyed this game, but I don't remember a lot of it.
I'm kind of feeling like in the Mario Sunshine area. Above Mario Sunshine, but in that area.
Okay.
I'm willing to put it lower if that's what you guys are feeling, but that sounds about right to me.
I've not played JJ Macfield. I have played Freedom Planet. Would either you or either of you put it below Freedom Planet?
Journey and Stardew though. Oh man.
Those are criminally low. Stardew's like 69.
Every
That's
time you
nice.
see Stardew, you have to say it's low.
What if we put it between Alundra and GoldenEye?
That seems fair to me.
So long as it's below Alundra.
That seems fine to me.
Yeah, I mean, seems like a pretty decent spot.
I think it has good multiplayer. The multiplayer online code actually works well, which is hard for a racing game sometimes.
Yeah.
It has Danica Patrick. That's like worth 5 spots.
It does have Danica Patrick. I think it also has the Daytona car.
I think that's in the first game.
Is that the original one? Oh, okay, so it doesn't have the Daytona car. Or
you know what's wild? You know what's the best version to play? Is the Steam version. They added like 7 exclusive PC characters. It's insane. You can be football manager.
Car?
No, you could be football manager, and you could be
friggin' football manager.
You can be like a Soviet leader from.
You can be Wreck-It Ralph.
You can be Wreck-It Ralph.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some cool shit, dog. Wreck-It fucking Ralph.
Yeah. This was.
I mean, put this game at number 1 now. Wreck-It Ralph's in it.
Danica and Wreck-It Ralph. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know how I feel about Danica Patrick now that she's dating Aaron Rodgers, but.
Oh my god. All right. That was just some rigmarole about we're fine with where it is.
I just remember having a lot of fun with this game. I can't tell you anything more.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun. I feel like because you're moving at such a just ridiculous, like, fast pace, which is cool, sometimes I feel like the visuals, which are really good, just kind of come to a blur, and then you don't really get to notice a lot of the cool things in the track.
No, I mean, that's sort of a problem with a lot of racing games, obviously, right? Is in their nature, is the sensation of speed. There was parts, I think the flying didn't always control, like, the best, but I think there was enough neat things going on with the trick system to where you were sort of engaged a lot in the moment to moment. Because the items weren't as, like, I mean, they're mostly Mario Kart items, right? But I think they did enough twists on it to make it stand on its own. So yeah, I would be fine putting it above GoldenEye.
Okay, so we good?
Yeah.
Everyone feel good about it? Okay. So it's going to be at number 71. Surrounding it is Stardew Valley, Alundra, Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, GoldenEye 007, and Kirby's Epic Yarn. Nice. I like this game. It's cool. So that's the list, and that's the podcast. You can find us every week, every Monday, wherever you can find a podcast. Make that iTunes or whatever your podcatcher of your choice. You can find us on the SoundCloud. That's where we put. Twitter is the best place to find us, though, because you'll find out whenever our new podcast goes up. You'll find out when our Jump Up Supercast Game Club goes up. Which, Brandon, you guys are playing Mother 3 next, right?
We are. Yeah, we are.
High stakes.
That's a big one, so look forward to that Game Club episode.
It's a fucking good one so far.
Yeah, so that's going to be exciting. And, by the way, we're finally using our Twitch again. Twitch.tv/JumpUpSupercast. Brandon has been streaming Mother 3. He'll probably stream more Game Club games. I'm speaking for him without consulting him first. But
that's fine. I mean, no, I already said it. I'm going to stream more this year. So as long as I have means to stream the Game Club game that I'm playing, then probably going to be playing it.
Yeah, and then on Wednesdays, and maybe I'm coming to every Wednesday, but maybe a couple other random days throughout. Again, like Will said, I'm going to be streaming the Hell games, which is going to be a nightmare for me. So you should definitely tune in. You know.
Also, by the time that this episode is up, we'll probably have done the New Year stuff on Twitch.
Yes, by the time this episode is up, you can go to our Twitch archive and maybe our YouTube channel and find our archive. We're going to talk about... So last year we did New Year's resolutions and we all picked one game on the list for everyone else to play. We're going to do a big old stream talking about the games that we played, how we enjoyed them, possibly re-rank them. I don't know if we've figured out the exact specifics of how we're going to re-rank them, but that's going to be important. We're definitely doing some sort of re-rank though, right? We can confirm that much?
Yeah, I think we might just do one game each.
Yeah.
We all get to pick one game we want
So if you care about list continuity, definitely want to tune in there. And we're going to be giving out the next New Year's resolution games. So we're going to do that this year too. So we're going to give everyone one game. We're gonna do the same thing, and we'll check back next year on that one.
Yeah. There's also one other thing you should probably mention, Muzzy.
Well, we have a Patreon.
Yeah.
We have a Patreon. If you love what we do here, if you like us, you want to chip in. Like, hey, I want to support you guys. We have a Patreon. You can chip in $1. You can chip in more. It's up to you. You get access to our exclusive Patreon. We get to talk to us. Get to talk to our
Discord. Discord.
What did I say?
You said exclusive Patreon.
No, we get
If you're on Patreon, you can use Patreon.
Yeah, no, our exclusive Discord channel, server, where you get to talk to us. You get to get input on. Hey, we're going to be doing Game Club raffles for patrons, so the patrons get to pick the next Game Club game.
Yeah, it's coming up really soon, actually. So. I don't know. I think if you when you hear this, you might be able to get it in time, but if not, we're doing it like once around. Once every 6 weeks.
So yeah, every around 6 weeks, you'll be able to contribute. Be like, hey, I want you guys to play this game, and that's really cool, right? So if you've had a specific game in mind that you're like, hey, I want the Game Club guys to play this, there's your shot.
I'm afraid of the things that are going to be picked.
You guys get more chances to pick Game Club games than I do, and I'm a member of the Jump Up Supercast.
Shut up. Go to hell and play some games.
You only need to pay $1 instead of having to do 45 hours of manual labor.
You could have saved yourself.
I'm saying the patrons, the
patrons are more important than you.
Deal. No, I'm telling you, you're getting a good deal out of this.
You do get a good deal. You don't have to play hours and hours of shitty games.
Yeah.
You only have to pay $1.
You just have to pay $1. So that's cool. Otherwise, who wants to take us out?
No one.
Nobody.
Okay.
It's all you, buddy.
Well, thank you for listening. We try our best. I know there was a lot of Pokemon this week, but it's not always like that. Just every now and then, we like Pokemon a lot, okay? We like to talk about Pokemon.
I don't.
And quite frankly, there's just not much else news sometimes. So you gotta work with what we got, But, I really appreciate the people who actually managed to hear this all the way into the end. So thank you. Thank you, listener.